All right, so for today's webinar, Mastering Transition Instruction with LCE 2.0, a complete curriculum for real-world readiness. We have with us Richard Capone, CEO of Let's Go Learn, and Stacie Dojonovic, Executive Director of DCDT. So I will turn it over to them to get us started.
Okay, so let me go ahead and start. This webinar today is pretty short, 30 minutes, so we're going to go pretty quickly. First, who is Let's Go Learn? So I'm Richard Capone, the CEO and co-founder of Let's Go Learn. We have a diagnostic assessment platform in reading and math with instruction, and it was originally developed to really help special educators know exactly what are my kids' present levels, what do I need to teach next. And so that's sort of our background. And then we teamed up with CEC, which we'll talk to about in a little bit. But that's sort of the background. Let's go learn. So let's go ahead and Stacie, I'll let you talk about DCDT.
So DCDT, we are the Council for Exceptional Children's Division on Career Development and Transition. And we are really concerned with, what we're all concerned with at any level of special education, which is ensuring that all students reach their adult life, living, learning outcomes. And we are really excited because the original LCE, which I think 20% Richard noted of you folks use the original LCE, which was created by our founder, Don Berlin. So we now look at why is this important to DCDT and why is a transition curriculum important? Because we all know on this call that transition to adult life requires a set of skills that we know can be taught. And we're looking at the outcomes and we're looking at folks. And one of the things that DCDT is asked recurrently is, do you have a curriculum? Do you have any evidence-based practices? And as you know, we have evidence-based practices in transition that we know work and that improve students' outcomes. And we have the research, but why aren't we moving those outcomes forward? And we believe that we needed to start with really developing and redesigning the LCE 2.0 and the Council for Exceptional Children Division on Career Development in transition. And Let's Go Learn looked at, okay, so let's revise this product for the current age. And Richard will tell you what we ended up doing was not revising, but really rehauling the curriculum. Our revised LCE curriculum, and I'm sorry, Richard and folks, but I get really excited about it because it's something that, we really wanted because we know that educators, no matter what level we're at, we all need support with delivering those high quality, right, effective instruction because we have such a diverse student population. So we were really looking, really started, and we spent a lot of time, Dr. Rowe, Don Rowe, Mary Morningstar, Colleen Toma, Tracy Sinclair, Lena Landmark, and working with other special educators about making sure we take that we know we need to not just develop content and tools and resources, but we really need to design the delivery to support educators in delivering high quality, effective instruction to diverse student populations, right? So we started really looking at what we know with evidence-based practices and looking at universal design for learning, scaffolding support. How can we embed high leverage practices, make sure they're being used for specific lessons, and embed the scaffoldings and support so that we're empowering educators to confidently implement these lessons with fidelity. And we're going to say, right, we're all overwhelmed, Richard. We all don't have time. So we need one resources and everywhere so that we can adapt this and deliver it across, yes, varied settings. We know we have learners of differing abilities. So, really, and I know I briefly said this, and I'm so excited for you to see the lesson content and design because we really looked at designing a lesson with those multiple pathways, right? We want to make sure that the lessons gave you clear objectives and step-by-step instructional procedures, but also gave you options for differentiating the content, the process, and how you assess students. We knew we had to have varying levels of complexity. And so that's where we were really looking at highlighting, what HLP for delivering this instruction? Is it explicit instruction? Is it modeling? Is it feedback? Do we need to have, with this really be a great lesson for peer-mediated instructional strategies and how to implement them? How can we assure and give you different ideas for implementing UDL? Because we all know, right? We need multiple means of engagement for all, including ourselves in all use. And making sure that we had hands-on activities. And I can't tell you how many times, we'd read over each other's lessons and the content, the team of 7 of us that were working on lessons and saying, you know what, that's not going to be meaningful to a teenager that wants to know why this is important to my life.
Yeah, I like when you go over this background because when you look at the lesson, essentially it's a bunch of text on a lesson, right? But to knowing that you guys have thought through every section and scenario is really, is pretty impressive. So,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things, Richard, that we wanted to make sure, just like we need to have multiple means of representation and, making sure that we have word banks and different things for different levels of learners that we have in our classrooms, we also wanted to make sure we had scaffolding supports for different levels of teachers, right? We want to encourage, we know so many special educators and transition specialists are leaving the field because I
mm.
think they aren't equipped with the tools and resources. So if you need a script, we not only have the step-by-step guide, but then we have a script that you can look at as a sample. And so we have differing levels of educators, and we wanted to acknowledge that as well. Um, and this is what's so exciting because we looked at the critical domains, right? Um, Richard knows Dr. Mary Morningstar back in during the pandemic lockdown delivered an amazing keynote at a DCDT conference about really structuring that it's not independent living, right, Richard? And I know we've had this
Mhm.
conversation. It's about preparing all youth with and without disabilities for adult roles and responsibilities. And that's really where we looked at it. And we redid the domains. So those of you folks that are using the current LCE, we did look at community living, employment, post-secondary education, and what they really needed to know to kind of prepare. And we did it by those adult life outcomes that we know you're teaching in schools to help students reach those goals.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you guys really put a lot of thought into this. And then I'll show you where to access a document of this as well, because some of it you may want to see the breakout for your own lesson planning as well. But we're going to show
Yeah,
you the
and it's
in a few
so
more
cool.
minutes.
Like Richard knows we were like getting into like, okay, so right, we've talked about the differentiated lessons designed for multiple pathways to address different learning needs, having clear objectives, step-by-step instructional procedures, options for differentiating content. We wanted to have co-teaching strategies in there, right? And we're talking about all of this and the progression of skills from foundational skills to advanced applications. The pre-assessment, which we didn't talk about, Richard, because this is something that you can deliver in general education classrooms. We wanted to make it scalable, special education classrooms, individual, group. Look at, you could do it as a progression series because some folks will, and some folks will assess their students and then look at where they need the content and the deliverables. So we wanted to have that pre-assessment skills so that we could help you identify students' readiness levels and where you need to take them in the curriculum. So, I think it's really important, not just we have some built in even within each lesson, formative and summative assessments in there grounded. Because we want to encourage what we want in transition planning, right? Collaboration among educators, related service providers, families, and just that clear guidance on co-planning and co-delivery of instruction. But the content, I mean, right? How many of us know where we talk about travel training? There's travel training. I look at so many curriculums and instruction. There's travel training. Well, guess what? There's not a public bus in my community, Richard. So here I am, a teacher, and everything's about using public transportation. Well, that's not a reality for my kids. But you know what? One of the ways we really changed the travel instruction lesson plans, we teach how to use rideshare apps because that's the reality, right, of our 2025. And I think it's a great example because everybody thinks about transportation and using public transportation, and that is the changing role. So we looked at what it really means to be prepare for adult roles and responsibilities in 2025. And I thought the ride sharing instruction was a great example to share with folks.
Yeah. And I think too, what's going to be is over time, now that we have this on a modern platform with a content management system behind it, over time it'll adjust, right? So this is now a web-based product, which means anytime there's an update, it changes in real time. So, over time, there'll probably be new lessons that are added, and you don't have to necessarily wait 20 or 30 years for an update.
And that's what DCDT is most excited about, Richard, is that we can also like adapt and put things in. And we've already had some of the authors already say, hey, we need to meet with CEC and let's go learn because I want to embed these lessons in. And Richard's like, great, let's do it. Let's meet. I mean, so that flexibility and making sure that we're really delivering meaningful instruction is what matters to DCDT. We want to move those outcomes for students. And I think people are going to be so excited when they see the Let's Go Learn
Yeah.
platform and everything that's embedded in there within that accessibility for instructors.
All right, super. So with that said, we're one slide away from me showing it to you. Just real quickly, why did CEC and DCDT partner with us? First of all, we are a case endorsed platform. Also, in this modern age, people want to use Clever. They want to have SIS integration. So, we do all this for school districts and special education departments across the country. So, if you have you're already using a system and you want to be able to push all your students into our SIS system automatically, we handle all of that. We have customer support, we have training. So we have all these other logistical support that you may need, as well as expertise, of course, too. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and show you the system right now. So initially, I log in, and this is our platform. So this is what a teacher would see. And they would click on class, they would see their students. And hopefully in our onboarding, we would figure out how to do this best for you, whether it's a spreadsheet upload, whether you're adding teacher students, or whether it's connecting to your SIS system. We'll work with you to make sure the burden on your teacher is low. Students have a login and password. We do have a whole testing system, right? Since we're a diagnostic assessment company. So I'll talk about the quizzing later on. But for you as a teacher, you're going to probably come over here to instruction and jump over to LCE lessons. Now, we are still technically in beta. We launch officially July 1st. So there are a lot of little tweaks are going to be happening. I think we're going to have a search bar right here that shows up. That's not here right now. But this is your overview page. So here we've got some how do I get assistance? We have a AI assistant that you can ask natural language questions about which lessons should I teach. So this is a great tool. You can request training, support. We've got information. So this is the list of all lessons with objectives. We're actually going to add a Google Sheet or Excel file. And right now, I think this is a PDF, but we're going to add a spreadsheet so you can download it if you need to use it for your own planning. Okay, so again, this is information, background. Then we also have here how to get help, getting started videos, how do I queue up quizzes. So we'll be changing this. If people frequently ask questions, things that they need to know right away, we'll change this and put those links right there. Okay, so Stacie mentioned the 3 domains right here: community living, employment, post-secondary education. So I'm going to go ahead and click on community living. And then I can go ahead and say, well, let's go ahead and do communication and civic engagement. And then I see the sub-competency, community participation, conflict resolution. So I just select one right here. So now we see here are some of the lessons that are available within this area. And again, you'll have that full document that you can actually look these up separately if you want. But you can come over here and let's go ahead and take a look at one of these. So I'll say, let me take a look at this lesson plan. And now this is where I was mentioning, it's very long. I think this is like 18 pages. You could download the whole thing, you could print it, but you can also, whether you're a new teacher or an experienced teacher, the goal is to adjust it to your need, right? You may say, well, I'm a veteran, I know how to teach this. I just want to maybe jump to the section where it has some scripts and questions and activities, right? Higher order thinking questions, activities, engagement. And maybe I want to print just this one section out. And Stacie, chime in.
And that's what I think is really great. And if you scroll down, Richard, to instructional strategies, because that's where I think some folks are going to go, this is just what I need. I don't need to know all the background. I want to go right to the instructional strategies. It also helps us with those of us that no matter what curriculum you're using, you have lessons that you have to, deliver for your principal. And we have all the information in there. We also have the standards that you're addressing by delivering these lessons. So, we've got the Common Core standards that you can relate there so you can show whomever it is you need to know why you're delivering that lesson. So we tried to think of all of those things as well. But, looking at maybe you want to go right to co-teaching strategies because you want to see how other folks are, co-teaching and delivering the same content in the same lesson. So that's what I really liked about it because I think um, the our previous LCE curriculum is an amazing curriculum, but that's the difference of being powered by Let's Go Learn in this technology is that it's not just a one-page sheet. You can go to different lessons. It's actually an online
Yeah.
curriculum and incorporating the AI feature. I think that's important, Richard, because when we talk to Chad about this, it is 2025 and folks need to integrate and use that. And then that will actually learn. And other folks that are using LCE, it's an LCE, is it a chatbot assistant? What are we calling it, Richard?
Yeah, it's an AI assistant. And I'll talk a little bit about that too, because there's a lot more we can do. So the thing too is what I like about this is it's very collaborative. So if people have more ideas, like for instance, this section here, as we were entering the final ones in, we realized sometimes we may need this in three columns. Because when there's a large, long lesson opening section and UDL section, it's better to see it side by side versus like this. So those are some of the things we're doing. But I think also eventually in the chatbot, we could put all this content in there too if you want to use it to help you, maybe change some of it and adapt it. So there's a lot of great potentials. It's real exciting. So this is the
That's what
base.
I think about the customizable and we're looking for time. I'm going to be
Yeah,
honest. I want to make sure that what I'm using is grounded in evidence-based practices and HLP so I know what I know is working and it's something that can be implemented. But I don't have I don't want we were very conscientious to that feeling that those delivering transition instruction, we don't want to look at many different places. We really need to have it all in one place so we're not spending we can spend more time delivering the instruction to students and working directly with them.
definitely. So let's say I'm going through and I could be clicking through these different sections and I'm finding the lessons that I want to use. I could go ahead and star them to add it to favorites. So here's another one, collaborate with others. I'm going to star this one and I could either give it a tag, I can add my own tags. So right now I'm going to go ahead, I like this one. Put a little note for myself. Save it. And now when I come over to my favorites, we're going to see the different ones that we've starred. And I also can have tags. So if I want to say, oh, what are the ones that I plan on using for October? It'll filter it. And this is the only one I tag. So this is sort of a tagging system that we created so that you could sort of organize how you're going to be using them, plan, you have them there under your favorites. Now, let's say it happens and I do in October. Let's see, I choose one of these, importance of voting. And now I want to go ahead and assign a quiz to students. So I could also do this pre-quiz and post-quiz, so I could assign it twice. I can click assign quiz, and then I could select the students in my class or whoever I'm working with, these four students, and I say Q. And now those four students were assigned a quiz associated with that specific lesson plan, right? So it's very simple to use, and this is part of our normal testing system. So it's already there. We want to make it simple. The other thing we have also is there's some of them will have resources right here. So these are additional resources. I don't think the ones I have right here have any resources, but this will also be more will be added over time. But if there's additional resources associated with the lesson plan, you'll be able to access it there. And then we also do have something called Edge, which is a add-ons. That's something else that we have, which is additional student-led lessons. So you can go ahead and say, okay, for this lesson, there's digital literacy, advocacy, engagement. These are some lessons that you can actually assign to the students. But this is a separate optional piece. So I don't want to confuse it too much, but you do have a lot of these great options. Okay. Now, that's sort of it in a nutshell. Again, is the ability to do that. If I want to come over here and take a look at the students on the quizzes that I just did, so I can come over to my class. And I think previously I queued up a quiz for a student. And let's see if it was this one. Yeah, previously I queued up for this student here, regular hand washing, importance of voting. So we see these two quizzes are queued up for them and they're ready to go, right? If I wanted to, I say, oh, actually, I'm going to go ahead and unqueue that quiz and turn it off. But so again, you will get training. Teachers will always, whether it's asynchronous, a recording, or whether it's a live training, or whether it's an on-site training, you're going to have whatever kind you want, and you'll be able to support your students and your teachers. All right. Let me show the AI assistant as well. So if I come over here, I could click on Lena. So that's Lena start. Let's see here. I could say, what lesson is good to teach food preparation? Now, what I like about this is it's natural language. I don't have to worry about hitting keywords, right? Maybe there's a synonym I'm using. I don't have to use the exact same word that's in the lesson and worry about finding it or not finding it. I mean, that's the great thing about AI is its ability to deal with language, right? So here it goes. For teaching food preparation, you could utilize the following lessons from LCE 2.0 framework, and it lists these 4 lessons right here with the code and gives the path and everything. So, right there. And you could actually even ask follow-up questions too if you wanted to as well. Because again, this is the regular AI. We use ChatGPT, OpenAI Model 4.0 Mini, I think right now is what we're using. And over time we can adjust and adapt. So let's see here. I think that's it. Is there other stuff you want to cover?
That's great because I wanted to cover some of the questions, Richard, that
Yes.
are coming in because I
Oh,
think
okay.
that you're going to love some of these questions, Richard, and the
Okay.
excitement folks have. So, Anne is currently using the LCE and she is looking forward to the transition over to LCE 2.0 and she wants to know what steps she needs to take to transition over to LCE 2.0.
Great. So what they're going to want to do is we actually have a list of all the users as well. And so somebody will be sending out an email. But if you want to be proactive, send an email to help@letsgolearn.com, right? Or LCE at letsgolearn.com, either one, and say, hey, I have an existing account. I want to get transitioned over right now. And we'll go ahead and get you set up, right? So let me go ahead and just put this
And
link
I
here.
know the answer to this, that Tracy is asking if she can download materials and they can be printed, if she wanted to give some of the supplemental resources that we've developed directly to students.
Okay, so you're saying that. So yeah, so the question is you can download and print, not the quizzes, but the lesson plans are downloadable and printable,
Okay.
right?
And boy,
Now,
I love
right.
Tracy's excitement. She wants to know when the training begins for LCE 2.0. I love that, Tracy.
So again, I would go ahead and you could email lc@letsgolearn.com and you could, get stuff situated and squared away, scheduled. Yeah, absolutely. Now is the time to start scheduling some of this, whether you're going to do a live training or we will have recordings as well.
And that really helped answer, Amy's, question about is there on-demand asynchronous training available as well? So, Amy, if you can just go ahead and send that email to Let's Go Learn with what you're looking at, I know it's something that we can tailor to you.
Yeah, and then LCE, that email too. One of the main point people is Elsa is her name, and she'll be talking to you guys if you have questions. She'll answer any of those. There are different costs for trainings. The virtual trainings are pretty inexpensive. We just schedule a time, and whether it's an hour or, and then we also have, more in-depth training too. Like we could even have trainings where Stacie and her team is available, or CEC provides even more expertise
Yeah,
for you.
we are CEC. We're
Yeah.
CEC's transition team. We're the
Yeah.
transition team of CEC.
All right. So let's see here. Great. Um, Oh, so one of the questions here is what does the student see? And actually, let me go ahead and I'll show this to you guys. So when a student logs in, I just have a screen capture. I actually figured this would pop up. So when a student logs in and they were queued up with a quiz, they would say, "Oh, right here," and they could click on this, start their quiz, and then if they were assigned an individual edge lesson, which is the optional instruction, a student-led lesson, it would show up over here and so they can click on that. So the student has this one particular interface. When they do questions, all of the audio, the questions have audio is read out aloud as well as the choices. So it would read out loud. Why is washing your hands with soap and water so important? So you don't have to use hand sanitizer to prevent bad breath. So it would go through that as well. And here's another question, and they could replay the audio if they wanted. So we always do full audio support. All right.
And Richard, just I'm going to answer kind of Caitlin and Aaron's questions first. Are there instructional materials? Caitlin kind of asked, but worksheets and videos made, or is everything for the teacher to make? The teacher can certainly customize and give resources that were there, but we do give resources for the lessons, as Richard pointed out.
Yeah.
So there are, and not slideshows, there are PowerPoints that we've provided for many of the lessons, because many of the lessons we thought that would be helpful. Again, you don't have to use the PowerPoints. If someone's on here and saying, I'm a seasoned teacher, I don't want to use the PowerPoint that's there, we're just giving them as examples.
Yeah. And right now, also, this is a new product and it's launching. And so some of those resources, not those additional resources, not all of them are completely ready. Those are being vetted still and proofed where they're working frantically to get everything ready. But those will over time. And I think we're also going to have a mechanism later on where if people want to submit stuff, they say, hey, this is a great free resource I use. And then we're going to be trying to make it so we can add those as well to the resources. But those are like the add-ons. Okay, after students finish their to-do list, is there a way for them to independently explore content lessons that may interest them? Okay, so right now, as far as student-led activities, the only thing we have optional is the Transition Edge, which is that other add-on we have. And those are the lessons which are, the sort of our interactive based lessons. I'll just show you a screenshot real quickly of let me just show you right here. So this is how the Edge lessons work. They're using like music, animations. They use sort of like a 3 to 5 minute lesson, and then there's gaming practice. But that's a separate add-on. If that's something you want, student-led lessons, you could go ahead and ask us when you email us. And then we could, you could even try that as well. And I think if you want, there's a trial that someone could just click a button and it'll turn on for you for 30 days. But again, those are only for about 70% of the lesson plans in LCE 2.0 are these student-led optional lessons.
And Lauren knows, like, sorry, I know Lauren Malone,
Yeah.
who did the question, like, we want to make sure that we do believe in giving supplemental resources and at-home extensions, but we do know that, again, getting back to what we believe is that transition is a set of skills that can be taught, and we don't want technology to take away from the amazing transition specialists and the delivery that you do with providing that instruction.
Yeah, there's a lot of great questions. All right. Is there a
And
list of content
I was
topics
going
we
to
can?
ask you if you could go to the Let's Go Learn website, just so Leslie could see the list of, competencies and topics. I know that's on the Let's Go Learn website, correct?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I'm not 100% sure. Sorry. Let's
I
see
think
here.
it is. I think I've been to the Let's Go Learn website and seen it there, but I could be wrong.
So I went to products. Yeah, and here's the main product page. Oh, yeah, here it is right here.
I thought so.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
Richard, you guys are so good. We just intuitively know each
You know it
other.
better than me. Thank you.
Yep.
So you can do that. And then I think maybe what we do is in the follow-up email we could send, we could ask Amy to include the PDF of this so you guys can have it. So we'll send that not only the slides, the recording, but we'll also give you this PDF because that's really helpful to see that. Yeah, good question. All right. So I don't
And
know if we'll
then
be able to answer all of these. There's another one. Is this available for tutors and homeschool families? If so, what's the cost? So it is sold at a per teacher basis. So if a homeschool family wanted to use it, they would have to buy like a teacher license. And I think, a single teacher license it starts off at $9.95 is what it is. And then obviously for schools that have multiple teachers, it goes down in volume pretty quickly. But that's the basics.
and then just asking if it can be used, students that are using screen readers was another question from Leslie.
Yeah, for the quiz part. Yeah, so it's gonna uh, it depends on what reader, right? A lot of it will be able to for sure because it's those readers are meant to be able to read the text or and access that. But I think it's going to depend too. But I know in general, our testing system, a lot of people will use third-party accessibility tools, and in some of that, you're going to have to probably dig into the help files and find out what specific software you're using.
And Richard, you will be attending the DCDT conference to be able to show folks
Yeah.
demo it there correctly in October, live in person.
Yeah, and also, by the way, so let me just go back to the last page as well.
And Richard will also be at the case conference as well for the administrators on the call that would want to see it demoed.
Yeah, so you guys can go ahead and email if you want to get a trial. I think we will get your contact information as well. And if you want to do a trial right now, you can go ahead, sign up, and you guys can check it out. Now, the trial does have some limits. It doesn't have every single lesson. So again, you're going to need to go back to that PDF file where you can see all the content. But the trial does have, I think it has like 40 or 50 lessons that you can go ahead and check out. Okay.